welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Diane, your lactation consultant.
And this is Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And today's episode is brought to you by Rumble Tough. The Rumble Tough Breeze is a top-of-the-line breast pump with a rechargeable battery that fits in the palm of your hand. We will hear more from our sponsor later, but you can always check out our sponsor page at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. See if you can give them any of your business if you need anything, because they make this podcast possible. And while you're there, scroll down and enter your email address, and we'll send episodes straight to your inbox every week. And we are on Patreon, and we hope to see you there. We have a lot of cool things happening, like ad-free episodes and mini demos and our Revolution Parenting episodes and so many things, little discussions, and just it's a nice private community. And our new patrons are Allie M, Lori D, Selena A, Allison O. No, wait a minute. This is just, yeah, that's right. I thought I was in the wrong. Okay. Joy H, Trisha F, Alyssa W, Ilana M, Caitlin P. I think I'm repeating people, but that's okay. We've had a few new people.
New ones, yeah.
It's fun. So check out the very, very top link in the notes wherever you're listening from. If you can't find that, just head to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. Check out our Wall of Fame. That's also one of the perks, is you get put on the Wall of Fame if you join. And we are still hosting our ongoing giveaway for reviews around the internet. If you could leave a review on iTunes or anywhere else that you listen to this podcast, if you can leave reviews or stars or whatever, send us a screenshot to badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com, and we will send you a goodie bag. And along with your address.
Yes.
That's helpful. And now Diane has our review of the week.
I do, and it comes from I Did Smash Bugs. I love that. That's her name on here. I did Smash Bugs. I happened upon this podcast, and it came at the perfect time. I feel validated in my new breastfeeding journey, and I couldn't wait to share with my sister-in-law, who is also expecting. Wish I discovered them before I gave birth. That's always like the repeating thing we hear. I wish I discovered before I gave birth. And thank you so much. And thank you for sharing. And I'm glad you found us. And thank you for the review and all the things. And I hope that your sister-in-law is listening and enjoys it as well. I love it that you guys are pregnant at the same time, or having babies around the same time, I should say.
That's so amazing.
Because, yeah, I love it. That's so fun.
I wish I had that.
I know, me too. Oh, that's really great. And yeah. So you got a goodie bag for that. Just that little review. And smashing bugs.
It's so easy. And smashing bugs. Yes.
Smashing bugs.
And every single friend of mine is like, oh my God, catch it and put it outside.
I do that.
I'm like, It doesn't happen in my house.
I know, my girlfriend always yells at me about that too. I do. I try to catch them and put them outside.
Ugh. Oh, I can't do it. Ugh.
Depends on what it is. If it's a stink bug, it goes down the toilet. But the other stuff I try to... But yeah. But this isn't necessarily a podcast about bugs.
No, it's not. I could talk about bugs all day, though.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
And my hatred of bugs. I mean, I understand they're an important part of the ecosystem, so don't email me and yell at me. I get it. I don't like kill bees or anything, but if they're in my house, if a bug's in my house, I'm like, okay, you know.
Oh my God, we had, and this is totally off topic, obviously, but a couple of years ago, we had this spider that was living in the corner of the window.
Oh my God, you sent me a picture of that. I remember that.
Didn't I? Yeah, because my son named him. Because it had like 5 flies in its web, and like my son was like, I saw it come out, and he stomped out, and he tackled a fly, and he carried it away. He goes, he named him Igor because he was like such a badass. He was really a badass spider. But yeah, I think that was during Jack's spider phase, though. Because wasn't like Jack in a huge spider phase or something?
Oh,
and that's why I sent it to you, maybe.
Yeah, that could be.
He was probably at the right age for a spider phase.
Yeah.
But so yeah.
I know, yeah.
So, yeah.
I know if they're up in the corner and they're catching flies, fine.
Right. That's why we let them live.
And those centipede things.
Oh, no, you can't deal with
I
them.
have like childhood trauma over those. My bedroom was in the basement. They were everywhere. And my walls were polka dot from smash marks. There were so many. The place was just crawling with them. My dad would fire off bug bombs every once in a while, and we'd go out to dinner.
Oh my God.
And we'd come back and there'd just be like fucking carcasses everywhere.
Oh my God.
So terrible. And now I can't. I just like, I'm brought back to like being 10 in the basement by myself when I see one.
No, that would not go well for me at all.
No.
I wouldn't be able to deal with it. Thank you to everybody who came out in Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, that was so fun. It was really fun meeting everybody.
Do a shout out to that. That was really fun.
If we have any new Cincinnati listeners, welcome. It was so good to see you.
I know. There was lots of fun people there. So thanks for coming out in the pouring rain. That was fantastic.
Yeah, and we're going to be in Indianapolis on August 6th. So that's also a top link in the... I know not everything can be a top link, but there's two at the top. One for Patreon and one for Indianapolis.
So definitely let us know.
You can go to all the other babies and bumps too. Oh, and you can go to all of them. They're all over the place. Diane and I won't be at all of them, but they're fun.
They are fun. Some good info there. So definitely check it out.
There really is some good info there. There's some sketchy information, like especially with like sleep and stuff. You have to be careful. Just come to us for that.
I know. We'll set that.
We'll hook you up with the science. Yeah.
But today we're going to talk about workplace bullying.
I guess we should do our episode now.
I know. We're kind of like stalling because this is such an upsetting episode, I feel like.
Yeah. Do we tell where this story came from?
I don't know if we should. Okay. Well, we can do that. It came from somebody who works for one of our sponsors.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, she was going to come on and talk about it, but she didn't want to come on in person and talk about it. So she gave us her story to talk about, and it's really upsetting.
Yeah, she like recorded like herself telling the story. So she was like telling us a lot of details and stuff. And even just in the recording, she was getting upset, and which may be just part of, not everybody likes to come on a podcast and talk, but like especially to talk about something that was so extremely traumatic. Just it doesn't feel good. So we were like, just, write it out or record something and then we can just talk about it with her. Because she wanted the episode to be made so that we could get information out to other people.
Yeah, some awareness. And especially if there's anybody else that's going through it so that you're not alone. But hopefully, and all I could keep thinking of as I was reading it and listening to her talk about it was that now with new laws that are passed, because this was a few years ago that she experienced this, and now there have been more laws passed to support parents pumping in the workplace. This is not happening, but it wasn't that she couldn't pump. That wasn't the problem. The problem was the abuse she sustained from her coworkers, which is also against the law. I want everybody to know that if you're experiencing abuse from your coworkers because you're pumping, you can report them for that. That is against the law.
It is against the law. And the problem is that we have all these pumping laws, but the laws are not, like you said, like there's so many loopholes available in this. And I know that the laws have advanced a little bit, but it really doesn't matter because workplaces, if they want to find a loophole, they will. They can really be petty. And I know a lot of people come from really supportive workplaces, and that's awesome. That's how it should be. But some places are just really petty, and it has to do with the people who are working there. Maybe there are bullies in the administration who are just, that's how they operate. And, not everyone has like this nice place to go. There was another person who, her story is on my blog actually. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because, it's too long, but, I'll get back to that in a second because I got to figure out how many details she gives. But she was absolutely harassed at her job too. And it wasn't that she wasn't allowed to pump. They were just making it really difficult for her. And so that's the loophole, right? That's like, oh yeah, no, we're letting you pump, stop complaining. Okay. Yeah. She comes right out and says it in the blog that she's a Chicago police officer.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And if you go, it's the latest blog on my blog at the badassbreastfeeder.com. You can read her whole story. She has tons of pictures too. And just like the crappy ass places she had to pump and the horrible way that harassing way that people were treating her. Anyway. Yeah. People go through this all the time. Yeah, and the one
terrible
to our story of this sponsor employee, it was not the sponsor, by the way, that was treating her this way.
No,
we would not even do that.
But it almost just as bad. She was working in a hospital on a mother baby unit.
Yes, I know. And I always find that ironic because I feel like that is a place where a lot of people have a hard time.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a really common place. Like nurses, other employees of hospitals and mother baby units that are just like, it's so stupid. And then these places are like really harassing and giving people a hard time about being a mother and having a baby.
It's
insane.
When I worked, it is. And when I worked at the hospital, I remember one of the nurses came up to me to ask me about something with pumping, and because she was pumping, and I can't remember what exactly it was, but I remember saying something to her like, "Oh, you shouldn't have a problem pumping here." And she goes, "Oh, you'd be surprised." And I was like, "What?" Like so naive. I was so naive because I was like, "What are you talking about? This is a freaking mother baby unit. Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
And it's just like, I should know better being the IBCLC on the floor, but I was just assuming
didn't know. Yeah.
that everything was fine. And it just, so, I mean, this, getting back to our story here.
Yeah.
She was, she did say that people told her that she should sue. And she's like, who? The hospital? Because the hospital wasn't the problem. The problem was the people that I was working with.
Yeah. These individual people that were just bullying.
Because she was on a new unit.
Right. And there was new administrators and new coworkers and nobody really knew each other.
And the other thing, they had her come back early.
Oh, I was going to say that. She got 16 weeks of maternity leave and they called her early. I don't remember if she said how early.
I don't remember. Yeah.
She got called in. They were like, they're short staffed. We need you to come back. She wasn't healed yet. And she had, she was having, she had some problems with her birth or something. I can't even remember now why she had she was in physical therapy. Mm-hmm. She had to go back on light duty because she was advised not to stand for too long.
Yeah.
Like she was still very, not healed from the birth and was having like extra problems to where she was in physical therapy and having to recover, more than just the normal way people recover by resting.
Yeah.
And she wasn't even the only person pumping.
No, she wasn't.
But apparently,
did she happen to mention if the other person was getting a hard time too?
She didn't mention that, but I'm assuming. Well, I don't know. I can't assume. I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe she did say too. She goes, I feel like they didn't know everything. Like the people that were working there, she goes, it was a new staff. Nobody knew each other. They didn't know that I was still recovering. They didn't know that I was supposed to be on light duty. So they could have just been thinking that she was a slacker. Yeah. Too. That she wasn't pulling her weight. She wasn't doing her work.
Mm-hmm.
And they were doing things like, because everybody's probably like, what were they doing? They were doing things like trying to catch her. They were like, oh, you're not really pumping when you're going to pump. So they were trying to do things to catch her in the act of not pumping, even though she was really pumping.
Because she was constantly pumping. Not constantly, but anytime she was on a pumping break, she was pumping. So they would do things like burst into the room, like, without knocking, the pumping room. I'm busy, whatever. Don't enter, pumping going on. They would just burst in. And one time the one time that one person burst in and the door like ricocheted off the wall or whatever. She like burst in just like aggressively and was like, "What are you doing?
Your patients need you." Yeah. She told her, "I've been calling you."
Oh, yeah. I've been calling you over and over again, and you're not answering your phone. Your clients are calling. And she would look at her phone, and there'd be literally nothing. No missed calls. And she would go to the front desk and say, "Did I miss any calls?" And they were like, "No, no."
She went to her patients. "Did you need anything?" "No, we didn't call for you."
Yeah, and she would go around to because apparently it wasn't a very busy unit. It was a new unit. And there were like 10 patients there when normally there's like 30. And she would go around and she would say, "Okay, I'm going to take a pumping break. Do you need anything before I go?" And she also mentioned, like, mind you, pumping breaks are 15 or 20 minutes. It's not 4 hours.
They were trying to take pictures of her.
They were like, trying to take pictures, they were looking through her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They were going through her personal items. And it's straight up like harassment.
Yeah.
But, like she said, you're just trying to keep your job. When you have a job and the job that you need, you're not thinking like, "I'm going to sue you," or "I'm going to," you're just like, first of all, you're already in this extremely vulnerable place, having a new baby, and you're back at work and you're trying to pump and people are harassing you. Like, you're just like scared and confused and stressed out. And you are just like, "Oh my God, I'm going to lose my job."
What an awful place to be.
Yeah, what's such horrible people.
Ugh. So let's take a break and we're going to talk about, because she gave some advice.
Yeah, she did.
For people going through this. And then I definitely want to talk about the Chicago one too, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Rumble Tough. The Rumble Tough Breeze is a top-of-the-line breast pump with a rechargeable battery that fits in the palm of your hand. The powerful motor lasts 2,000 plus hours and has a 2-year warranty. The memory button allows you to record your most effective pumping session and recall it anytime you wish. Combine the Breeze with the Rumble Tough Go cups and you're pumping hands-free and on the go. Every Rumble Tough pump user qualifies for free pumping support with an IBCLC. Because they care, you also receive in your pump bag a manual handle kit to convert your electric pump into a manual pump for free. You should not have to figure it out alone. Let the experts help you get the support you deserve. Additionally, every pump box includes a flange fit ruler, so you can determine which of the 15 flange sizes they offer will fit you best, because nipple size does matter. Check out their entire line at rumbletuff.com. That's RUMBLETUFF.com. And use code BADASS for 20% off of your purchase. And also check through your insurance if you can receive this pump through your insurance. And all our sponsor today and the promo code can be found in our show notes under this episode, wherever you're listening from. And you can also find it at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. And over there, you will also find all of our other episodes and information about scheduling your very own one-on-one online lactation consultation with Diane.
So she also said that, HR was involved, but again, this was a new unit, new administration, new people, but did have HR involved. But she said by the end of this process, she was like pumping drops, because we know that the stress level can really tank your supply and really make things difficult for you. But how are you supposed to go and pump when people are they're going through your things, they're trying to take pictures of you not pumping, they're bursting in on you while you're trying to pump? How is that a relaxing environment?
No, you literally are just you're not going to be able to have a letdown. You are going to be so tense and so stressed out that your body is not going to be able to let down.
Yeah. Which is going to impact your supply over time.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to pump what you need. And that's what happened with her. She had that problem. And she was like, I just can't imagine being in a pump room trying to pump and somebody bursting in and trying to tell you that you were needed when you're not, and trying to, catch you not doing your job, which she was doing, and coming back early to this abuse too. She came back early to help them out. She could have said no.
Yeah.
And this is what she gets for doing that. So she did give some advice. Plan ahead, know the policy, have an agreement, and get it in writing. And that is really great advice. That is really, really great advice. And this is stuff that you can do before coming back to work. This is stuff you can do while you're still pregnant, is to, say, hey, I'm coming back to work. I have this much time off. When I come back, I need to, make sure that we have our system together for pumping. How is this going to work? And do it via email with your whoever it is, whether it be HR, whether it be, your supervisor, or both, even HR department and if you do have an HR department, and your supervisor, so that everybody knows, okay, I'm coming back, I'm going to be pumping. This is what I need. This is how it's going to work. They're supposed to come to you and say, oh, okay, so you're coming back and you're going to be pumping. Here's your room. This is what, but that doesn't happen. They don't know. They have no idea what's going on. A lot of times they're not even aware that these laws have passed, these new laws. So they don't even know. So it is important for you to say, look, I need a space. I need a private space with a lock on the door, preferably. And, I need to, just so that people are aware that this is what you're going to be doing. And that way, if you run into trouble with employees, you're backed up by your supervisor and by HR, because they know where you're supposed to be. And definitely get it in writing. That's so important.
Yeah.
That is so important to do that, because she really, and like we said, and you could see how visibly upset she was when she was talking about it on the video. Yeah. And she even said, like, it's been years since this has happened, and she's still so traumatized by it.
Yeah. We just cannot underestimate how traumatizing this is for people.
Now, when we talk about the Chicago police officer, that's kind of a different situation, because she wasn't going to lose her job over that, which means you really are just stuck there dealing with it.
Right.
Not that anybody wants to lose their job, because you just want to go to work and do your job the way you're supposed to. But she's covered by a union, which obviously was not doing anything for her, which is even worse, I think. Not worse, but you know what I mean? Like,
right. They're
supposed to be protecting her.
Have this, but yeah, right.
They're supposed to be protecting her.
Yeah. I suggest reading this post, because she's a great writer and actually makes it funny a couple of times. Like, yeah, I burst out laughing a couple of times.
Yeah.
But she would, just to give you an idea of what she went through, she would be sent to pump in co-ed locker rooms next to urinals, storage rooms with work boots that people would leave because they didn't want to bring them home, which gives you an idea of how disgusting they are.
Yeah.
She would have to pump right in front of everyone, like in a female locker room, storage rooms with garbage and old office supplies. There's a picture of one where the like drywall or the paint or whatever is like dripping or falling onto her pump stuff. At the edge of sinks next to rid bags where people leave their like sweaty, disgusting stuff that they also don't want to bring home. let's see.
I mean, that's where people leave things where if they're doing like the police department, like if you go and do, like you're raiding houses or you're doing search warrants, like you wear your crappiest clothes to those things. And then you take them off and you leave them there. That's where she was pumping.
Yeah.
Like, didn't she even have pictures of her parts like on top of a urinal?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Like, disgusting.
All the pictures are here. Yeah, there you can look. They suggested sometimes when she tried to advocate for herself, they'd be like, well, you can pump in the back of a squad car. Yuck.
How fun.
Yeah.
Next to the criminal?
And then
that would be fun.
Are they going to be in there or not?
I know.
They would sometimes say, she'd be like, I need to pump, or, my pumping time. And they'd be like, oh yeah, I forgot. Or they would schedule her pumping breaks like kind of right next to each other. And then she would have the rest of a 12-hour shift where she wasn't allowed to pump, which is kind of useless.
Yeah. And illegal.
And then, yeah. This is one of the sentences. When the male supervisor, let's call him Sergeant Hot Dog, from the above scenario was questioned about his behavior, he denied any ill intent and claimed that the only reason my break was delayed was due to the chaos of riots. This was probably like
a couple years ago during riots.
A couple years ago during the George Floyd incidents when people were protesting.
Mm-hmm.
On that particular day, we spent 12 hours in a passenger van, alternating watching videos on our phones and naps. It is true that we were on standby in case violence erupted, but at that point, the protesting and the looting had largely ended. On the same date, our caravan, led by Sergeant Hot Dog, drove approximately 9.2 miles to have lunch at Portillo's, a restaurant known for their hot dogs, hence the name. But we did not have time to go to the station so that I could pump when needed. The worst part of the above story is that Sergeant Hot Dog is actually one of the few coworkers who at least verified the events occurred without admitting guilt, of course. When questioned, nearly all the other officers and supervisors who participated or witnessed incidents of discrimination claimed that they could not recall that it occurred. Let's call them collectively, Officer Can't Recall. I don't mean to laugh, but I mean, it's, she's so funny, and I know her. I know her. She goes to, whatever. I know her. And she's like, I don't know. I mean, she's so sweet, and she's also a total badass. And like, why are you trying to harass this person? Like, I'm sure she's good at her job. I'm sure she's like a really great employee. I mean, I just know her, and I think that she is. There's no reason to do this except that you are just being petty.
Mm-hmm. Control.
There's really yeah, exactly. It's just awful.
And these are two people who work in the service industry.
Yeah.
They are giving themselves to they are in a job where they are giving so much of themselves to others and asking for very little in return. And this is like what they get.
Right. And she says also at the time that this was actually her second to last baby. She's now pumping and breastfeeding her second baby through this. Like we're on to baby number 2 through all of this insanity.
And I'm sure, again, she's not the only one that's pumping. I mean, Chicago Police Department, how huge is that?
I mean, it's fucking huge. Yeah.
Yeah. But that makes it almost harder. Like, who do you go to?
Exactly. That's the thing is that like especially these big cities with these police departments that are just so massive. I mean, the supervision and the policies and making these things like happen consistently and correctly has got to be a nightmare. And, it just sucks that these people have to go through this, and anybody else out there who is going through this. I'm sure there's many people who can relate to this kind of thing. Yeah. Or even just being told straight up, like, no, you can't pump. And then we're like, well, here's the law. Well, no, we can't do that.
But I'm sure, like, our first person, she probably never, ever thought that she was going to run into a difficult time.
Yeah.
Like, because of where she was going back to. She was going back to a hospital setting and a mother baby unit. Why would she ever think that she was going to have trouble saying, I need to go pump for 15 minutes?
Right.
And, like, why would you ever? And that's why her advice, I'm assuming, is, you know what, plan ahead, know what the policy is, and get everything in writing. Because she wished she had done that. Because she probably never thought that this was going to be a problem.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, when it is, I can't imagine. Because I know if it were me, that's how I would be. I would be like, oh, this isn't going to be an issue. I don't need to worry about it. You need me to come back early? Okay, I'll come in and help out. I'm not even going to worry about the pumping. That would totally be me. I would totally be that naive to think that it would be totally fine. And then when I get the rug pulled out from under me, it's like, what the hell do you do? Because you have nothing to back yourself up with.
Well, no, and that's the thing. It's like, well, you need to fight and you need to advocate for yourself and you need to do this. All these things that are true and that we say, but it's so hard. Because there you have this organization that's just basically like ignoring you and harassing
bigger than you. Yeah, bigger than you are.
It's like, yeah, you can go get a lawyer, which the cop did. But like, it's like, okay, I'm going to go get a lawyer to argue with my workplace. That's just, that is that.
And then go back to work every day?
And then go back to work every day. Exactly.
How do you do that?
How? Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know how anybody out, how people that you work with, and this is, again, me being so naive, I couldn't imagine doing this to somebody. That's why I can't imagine, like, that there are people out there that behave like this, that would actually, like, try to take pictures of her, go through her things, and, like, bust in while she's trying to pump and outward lie and say she's needed, and how dare she be pumping when she's needed on the floor when it's not true. Like, how do you do that and lay your head on a pillow at night? Like, come on.
I know. When I was going to go back to work, and I ended up not going back to work, but my supervisor was really supportive. She was like, you can just have that bathroom and we'll clean out the refrigerator, and you can, I had an office, so I could just pump my office. And she was like very prepared, and I didn't end up going back, but it seemed like it was going to be, the ideal situation with at least a supervisor who was supporting me. But I know how it would have gone down. I worked there for 8 years. I know exactly what would have happened. I would have been allowed to take my breaks, and like the larger team, the outside of I was a therapist. So I know outside of the therapy unit would have been like, oh, where's Abby? Oh no, she's taking a pumping break. And there would be like eye rolls. There would be, because this is what went on with people. Like if somebody called in sick, oh my God, we would tear them apart the whole day. Oh my God, they're so lazy. Oh my God, they don't work very hard. And it's like, this is a place where we were working with physically aggressive, mentally ill teenagers, where we were asked to intervene physically daily. Like we were all working really, really hard all the time. And God forbid someone called off. God forbid somebody left early. I know exactly how it would have gone.
You're not a team player.
Yeah, you're not a team player. Oh my God, I can't believe she's pumping again. It must be nice to sit in your office and be able to pump. I know exactly how it would have gone. Because I was a part of those things too. Just, being, backstabby, and I'll admit it. I was all caught. We were all so caught up in that environment, and that's how you acted. You had to give all of yourself and all of your time, or you just weren't good enough.
And that's the service industry.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And you get nothing in return. And when you need something,
oh yeah,
you're fucked, because it just doesn't it doesn't go like that.
Yeah, and I was a social worker. They're like, here's your $35,000 a year.
Yeah.
Gee, thanks.
And your huge ass caseload. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you're no time away.
It's just,
it's just
terrible.
Wild. It's wild the way that companies, what they can get away with. And we really live in a culture that really supports the company so much more than it would support the individual employees. Because we are all supposed to be, supporting this, system, right? Which is just all these organizations.
Right.
And so they win.
And then we've got people that are just, end up weaning earlier
Exactly.
than they planned.
Of course. I mean, I probably would have quit too. I would have been like, forget this.
Right. How do you, she she said she was pumping drops. Why bother at that point? They win, they win.
I mean, if you literally cannot get milk out because you're so stressed out, you have to quit.
I mean, you got to feed your baby.
Right.
But I mean, what a horrible place to go to work to every day.
Yeah.
How do you go to work in this place every single freaking day?
Yeah. And you're made to believe that it's like a gift to have this job. It's like you have the threat of losing this job all the time, and you have to have a job or you die. You can't. That's the system we live in. We don't take care of people. You just have to work. Even if you're bleeding, you got to go to work. We can stop before I get into a whole capitalism rant. I mean, it kills people. We're all just killing ourselves working for this stupid system.
And then our babies are the ones that end up, getting the last of it. They end up being the ones that suffer. It's not their fault. They can't get the milk now.
Right. Well, but we've got another business for that.
Right. Exactly. And it's just really unfortunate. But we were really grateful for her that she gave us this story.
Yes.
Because it was a really hard story for her to tell. But we want people to be aware that this happens. And if you're somebody that this happens to, you aren't alone, and we will always support you however we can, even if it's just listening. But it's really hard stuff. It's really hard stuff.
And if you're getting ready to go back to work, just, don't tremble in fear, because we probably made you really afraid. We just want you to be prepared. So go to work and start talking to people about what's going to happen when you come back and where you're going to pump and the times, and get it all in writing.
Because maybe you're not even thinking about it. You're probably not even, who thinks about it?
Who thinks about that? Yeah.
But make sure, and if you don't want to do it before you go out, then do it while you're on maternity leave. Send an email to your boss. I'm going to be coming back in 8 weeks. What's the plan? I want to make sure we're set up.
And you tell them the plan. You say, I need this amount of breaks, this, length of time. And here's the laws that say this is what I am supposed to have. And then, say what you need and have it in writing, have people sign it and hand it out to everyone. If there's more than one, supervisor that needs to be aware of what's going on, if there's just send it around to everybody so that everyone knows. Wallpaper the building with it.
Yeah. If there's other people pumping there, talk to them, find out what they've done. Because you want to make sure you're covered. Even if you think this is the best place, I have great support here. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you're covered. Absolutely. Things can change. You never know. Maybe you got a new boss while you're out. You never know.
Sorry. They suck.
Yeah. But so that's our workplace bullying. Hopefully nobody's going through this. If you are and you want to reach out, you absolutely can. We'd love to hear from you.
And thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.